5 years ago, I was about $31,500 in debt. I didn't make six figures, I didn't get a big inheritance, but today I'm debt free. And honestly, the hardest part wasn't paying it off. It was believing that I could. So I started this journey at 22 years old. I had just graduated from college, got my first full-time job, I got my first big boy car. But with that big boy car and my college degree came a mountain of debt. And leaving college, I felt like I was already behind before I had started. When I joined the workforce, it felt like debt wasn't just like a math problem in front of me. It felt like I was late to the party. It felt like I was running through mud, just trying to get to a point where my friends started. The turning point came when I realized I couldn't change what I wasn't measuring. I needed to know where my money was actually going. I had started with like the Notes app on my phone in college, and it was very bare bones. And after a couple years of really trying to iron out what would be the best way for me to know where every single one of my dollars was going, why did I feel like I was always trying to catch up? So I started with step one, and that was building my budget. And for me, that wasn't just, let me set back 70% of my income for bills and the rest of it I'll save or put towards my retirement. No, I wanted to see what every single dollar was doing for me. So I built out this Excel spreadsheet that was, again, extremely bare bones, and I listed out every single bill that I had. I went ahead and figured out, after my necessary bills, how much money do I really have to help dig me out of this hole. After a few years of really ironing out what worked, what didn't, I was like, this format is gross. So I went on Etsy and I looked up just plain budget templates. And I recommend, if you're not Excel savvy, doing that. I'll put a link down below to the one I built out myself and use. But it's also pretty manual, it's pretty tedious. So if that's not your thing, by all means, go find one that works for you. But what I found is every single day I go in and I balance this bad boy. Essentially, I was determining that every single dollar I had was going to a place that I thought was needed, and I wasn't living above my means. Only then did the budget become like a living document, you know? I would figure out, man, I haven't watched Peacock in like 3 months. Let me go ahead and cancel that. And then that amount can then roll over to cover some of my car payment. And that's when things started to really connect. I started to notice patterns. I was trying to invest at like a 14-15% rate, as well as build up my emergency fund, as well as pay off my car loan, as well as pay off my student loans, all at the same time. And mentally, it was not working for me. I wasn't seeing the progress I needed. I had no momentum at all. So with that, I decided the first place I would go was just to free up some cash. So I revisited my retirement plan that I had. And I lowered that bad boy to 4%. And then after that, I had some cash, right? I had some cash on hand that I wasn't used to having as my take home anyways. And so I knew I could put it towards my debt. Since these interest rates were pretty negligible, I went ahead and just went with the smallest loan first. That way I can get that momentum that I was searching for so badly. So after a couple months of redirecting those funds for my retirement, I was able to pay off my car pretty quickly. And by December 1st of 2024, I was ready to really bear down and knock out these student loans. So I paid off my car loan, and I immediately redirected not only the funds from my retirement, right, over to my student loans, but I also moved over the money I was putting towards my car loan, which was a little over $200 a month. I redirected that over to my student loans as well. And so with that snowball effect, I could really take a chunk out of those student loans every single month. Now, to give a little bit more context, at this time I was making about 60 grand a year, and I do have a side photography business.
Now, before we continue, here's a completely unnecessary and shameless advertisement for my photography business.
Are your family photos still being taken on an iPhone? Do your Christmas cards look like witness protection photos? Then book Wood and Shutter Company Photography. Wood and Shutter Company Photography, helping ordinary people look photogenic since 2021.
That I make a 3 to 5 grand additional a year, if that. That's really my only other side gig or side hustle that helps supplement this journey. But the point is, I didn't fix this overnight. I didn't win the lottery and wipe out my debt. I just consistently made the same decision over and over again to redirect any of my side money that I didn't want to use to maintain my lifestyle to paying off these debts. So from December 1st, 2024 to somewhere in September of 2025, I paid off around $15,000 worth of student loans. Now, it didn't just happen in a straight line, right? Some months I had to adjust based on unexpected expenses like, car repairs, moving expenses, things like that. But overall, I don't want to say that I sacrificed my lifestyle to make this happen. It just took meticulous planning and a dedication to accomplish the goal. And I think the biggest thing that might be the most underrated thing that kept me going was building out a visual goal dashboard on my budget. So every time I'd make a payment, I could see exactly what percentage I had left to pay off or I had paid off. I had a projected date based on, using Google and chat and all this stuff to figure out what day approximately I would have these things paid off. I kept that in mind every single time I opened my budget. And so that reminded me day in and day out what I was working toward and what freedom awaited me on the backside of putting my money towards this. Again, this was more of a psychological journey than it was a financial journey. And this is what worked best for me. So come September of 2025, I was 26 years old and I was debt free. It wasn't because I got a new job that paid $150,000 a year. It's not because I had a family member pass away and give me their whole life savings. It's because I figured out where my money was going. I determined what priorities I have personally that I wanted to put my money towards. And then third, I stayed consistent. I found a system that worked for me, that held me accountable, and kept my goals fresh at the top of my mind every single time I opened my budget. And those small decisions compounded every single day to get me to now where I have zero debt and am able to really bear down and start accomplishing some more financial goals I have using the money that was previously tied up and covering those debts. So what now? How am I doing now? Well, I can tell you what's changed and what hasn't changed since I became debt-free. What didn't change? I didn't become rich. My life didn't magically change overnight. I didn't wake up a millionaire, but I had less stress, more flexibility, more confidence in myself because I accomplished a goal that I thought was a delusional goal 5 years ago, more control over my own future, all just from being free from monthly payments, unnecessary monthly payments. So to wrap up here, again, this isn't the path that I recommend like everybody takes. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial guru. I'm just a dude, right? Like just a guy in Kansas working a full-time job, trying to take control of my life and get my shit together as much as I can before I'm 30. And step one for me was to get out from under the decisions I had made as a teenager and in my early 20s. So that way I could set myself up for when I'm in my 30s, 40s, and 50s to truly succeed emotionally and financially. So now that my debt is gone, I've gone back to step one, taking a step back, looking at my budget, and determining what is unnecessarily taking money away from me and away from my goals. And that's going to be the topic of my next video, which is why I'm breaking up with my streaming subscriptions and saving now $80 a month, and what I'm doing with that additional money now. If you're looking to take more control over your finances, your health, or your life in general, consider subscribing, because I'm going to be documenting everything that I've done to try my best to set myself up for success as time goes on. And maybe it'll help you make the decision that's best for your life.